Well, it's already been kind of a bad week, given the state of things and current events and everything, and even in the world of wrestling. We lost Vern Gagne yesterday. He passed away at the age of 89, I believe. So he was up there in years, but one of the legends in wrestling's history, and great promoter, obviously responsible for the AWA, and the AWA, as most people my age knew it anyway. It's just we lost a legend, and that's always sad, and it's always important to talk about and pay respects to those that laid the groundwork for the foundation of wrestling as we know it today. So my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, obviously. And then we have all the other craziness going on, with the riots over in Baltimore, which is like a good 40 minutes away from where I am right now, and just how crazy that whole situation is. I just hope that cooler heads can prevail and we can move past that, and hopefully get past all that craziness, because it's been pretty bad the last couple of days. And obviously there was the earthquake in Nepal, which just a horrible tragedy, horrible disaster. So a lot of bad stuff going on right now. So hopefully I can come on here and kind of lighten things up a little bit and provide a little bit more fun. But that said, let's jump right into some pro wrestling stuff. Some of the stuff I watched this weekend. Started off with the TNA Knockout special, which wasn't really a knockout special because I think it was half. I think the men took up at least half the show. So can you really call it a knockout special if the women are not the predominant factor on the show? I don't know. It just seemed silly to me. The four-way match was good. I'll say that. The four-way contenders match, it was Brooke, Gail Kim, Madison Rayne, and Angelina Love. I thought they had a pretty good match. Other than that, though, I'm not really feeling the dollhouse. That gimmick came off a little awkwardly. The rest of the show was just not. I just wasn't feeling it. It's 2015 TNA, so what do you expect? But I was just a little confused that it was, they advertised it as this, night of the knockouts and all this other stuff, and it really wasn't that much of a knockout special. There were 3 women's matches, which is more than you would expect, but from a regular show. But that still doesn't mean they really dominated the 2 hours. It just wasn't, like I said, at least half of it went to the men, and there was even a world title main event angle. So, that's just, I don't know. It just didn't strike me as a real knockout special, especially since last week was the tag team special, where it was nothing but tag teams, and that one, it was nothing but tag teams, and they were able to format the entire show that way. But next week we got Hardcore Justice, which I'm sure is going to be gimmick-laden and crazy, but we'll see how that goes. But speaking of, over-gimmicked hardcore pay-per-views, we have Extreme Rules. And that was on Sunday night, WWE's first show post-WrestleMania. And what to say about this show? What to say, indeed. I liked the first hour, and the pre-show was cool. But that's really, if I'm trying to stay positive here, that's about all I got. I did think Neville and Barrett went out there and had a pretty solid match on the pre-show. I really enjoyed that match. I was like, okay, cool. I mean, granted, there's some of that, oh my god, Neville kicked out of Wasteland and the wind's a change. Oh my god. I'm like, yeah, everybody does that, so it's really not that big of a deal. But I've already gone on a rant about that whole issue. But I thought the match was good. I thought it was better than you would expect out of a pre-show match. And Neville, quite honestly, since he's been there on the main show, he's been having some of the better matches on the show consistently. So, and I'll cover that a little bit more when I get into King of the Ring. But, that match was good. Ambrose and Harper, that match was bonkers. But in a good way. It was fun. I did enjoy that. The whole bit where they got in the car, left the building, and then, the show continued without them, and then they came back and finished the match. Which, if you think about it, doesn't really make any sense, because to me, once the next match starts, that means that match got thrown out. But whatever, I'm willing to, I'll let that slide. But In any case, you know, they drove around, did God knows what, came back, finished the match like an hour later, and I thought that was, you know, it was different. It was something different that you don't always see, and it really reminded me of matches like the Hollywood Backlot Brawl from WrestleMania 12, or even some of the old hardcore matches from back in the day, in the Attitude Era, like, you know, Al Snow and Bob Holly fighting in the Mississippi River and all sorts of craziness like that. It wasn't quite as crazy as that. And actually, if I were booking this, you know, if you pitched the idea to me that they jump in the same car, leave, and fight, presumably continue fighting while they're driving the car, I would have, like, had a camera crew following them in the progression back to get back to the building. And, like, film something, like, at a bar and, like, in the middle of a highway. Just so, whatever kind of crazy crap. I even was, like, thinking, it's like, man, it's a shame that the King of the Road match isn't well known to modern day fans, because this might be a good opportunity to bring that back. And if you don't know what the King of the Road match is, boy, oh boy, are you missing an interesting one. It was Barry Darsow and Dustin Rhodes, and this was in WCW, I should note, obviously. And they had a match inside of, like, an 18-wheeler. Like, I'm not even making this up. There was a giant truck that they fought inside of. And the whole match, and by the way, the truck was driving down the road while they were fighting. I remember as a kid just looking at that, I was like, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm sure if I watched it now, it would suck. And I kind of don't want to watch it now because, you know, watching it at 7 years old or however old I was when I saw it, I thought it was amazing. But I'm sure if I watched it now, it'd probably not. Probably hasn't aged very well, if I had to guess. But in any case, if it were up to me, I would have had Ambrose and Harper, like, fight all over the place and film stuff, and then cops follow them into the building as they continue the match, and then after the match is over, they both get arrested and all sorts of crazy shit. I would have gone just completely off the wall with it. But as is, I did enjoy the match, and I did think it was fun. And it was, again, it was something slightly different from what we usually get out of street fights and hardcore matches and Falls Count Anywhere or whatever type of no DQ matches that they throw out there. So, yeah, I enjoyed that. Sheamus and Ziggler in the Kiss Me Arse match, which the announcer, Eden, I think her name is, she looks so uncomfortable having to explain the rules of this match, because even she was like, you can't be serious, right? And to me, it's a dumb gimmick, and it was a dumb stipulation, and really unnecessary, because quite honestly, I thought the match was good without it. I thought it was a perfectly fine match, and just perfectly solid, perfectly good. Everything was fine, and then we did the bit at the end where Ziggler wins, and it's like, all right, Sheamus has to fulfill the contractual obligations of the stipulation that was set forth for this match or whatever, and he chickens out of it, you know, knocks out Dolph, and then he makes Dolph kiss his ass. And to me, I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, is he going to get, like, sued or something? Or is he going to get suspended or fined or anything for breach of contract and not following with the stipulation of the match? I mean, how can Sheamus just get away with not following the stipulation, which kind of renders the stipulation meaningless if you think about it. But I really wish they didn't do all that stuff, because quite honestly, I thought the match was perfectly fine without it and didn't really need it. But and you know, kiss my ass, that's, as I said in my preview video, that's just a stupid gimmick anyway. But in any case, that happened. And then we got the tag title match. It was Tyson Kidd and Cesaro versus The New Day. Actually, a pretty good match. I was surprised at how good this was, because I expected it to just be throwaway filler. And it wasn't. It was actually like a pretty well-worked tag match. One of the better tag matches I've seen from the WWE in a dog's age. And I enjoyed it. And I think, much like what I said about Sheamus working better as a heel, and by the way, the reason Sheamus works so much better as a heel is because when he was a face, he really wasn't that different. They just told us to cheer for him, and nobody wanted to, because the character was always kind of a bully and a jackass. Now he's deliberately a heel, so it works. So that's why Sheamus works so much better as a heel. But the New Day, I do think they work better as heels, because that insincere, smiling doofus idiocy that they made those guys do, that's just not going to work as baby faces. I don't know why Vince would think that would work as a baby face thing, but I think that insincerity coming across in a heel faction makes it work at least a little bit better, and it allows them to, I think, play the roles a little bit differently to make it work. And like I said, this tag match was actually really good. It was just a really good, solid tag match with, plenty of tag team action and actually following the rules of a tag match, which I appreciated. It was just overall really good. And of course, Cesaro, he's a friggin' beast and should be given a lot more than he's given. But for a match that I expected to just be a throwaway filler, it was actually pretty solid. New Day won the tag titles, which I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I mean, if they really come across great as heels and this works, then they could wind up being like the tag team version of the Honky Tonk Man, where people don't remember Honky Tonk Man actually started out as a babyface, and the fans hated him, so they just turned him heel and ran with it. And they got some good stuff out of that with him as Intercontinental Champion. I don't think he's the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, like they say he is, but they did get a lot of heat out of that. And I think there's room to do that with the New Day if they can make the gimmick work as heels. And like I said, so far they're way better as heels than they ever were as babyfaces. But in any case, I enjoyed that match. And then, like I said, we got the follow-up to Ambrose and Harper and their finish. So overall, I thought the first hour in the pre-show was like, yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. Not spectacular, but fun. It was good, fun action through the, not flawless, but overall pretty good, pretty fun, and I was enjoying it. And then, the bane of my existence, John Cena rears his ugly head, and the fun dies. That's just how, it's John Cena, what do you expect? But anyway, him and Rusev in the Russian chain match, this match sucked. It royally sucked for several reasons. One, we all knew Cena was going to win. So because we all knew Cena was going to win, and nobody cares if Cena wins, truthfully, did anybody really give a shit? It's one thing to be predictable, but if it's a predictable outcome that we want, it's fine. This was not what we wanted, and we saw it coming a mile away, so I don't care from the get-go. And sure enough, Cena wins, LOL, and Rusev has to take another loss to Cena for God knows what reason, and the inevitability of it just made the match feel boring. And I don't know, the format of the match, the Texas Bull Rope format that they were going for, I don't know, it came across as a little too repetitive and just didn't really click. And that only that only gave me more reasons to not like the match. The best part of the match was Lana acknowledging the "We Want Lana" chants. And I don't know if that was something that they planned. I don't know if that was something that she did on the fly and something that they just cooked up there in the ring. I have no idea. But whatever it was the only thing in that match that provided any kind of entertainment out of me. Just the fact that she acknowledged the chant just got a chuckle out of me. And I thought it worked. And it was the only thing in this match that really did work. But but this match just didn't do it for me. It was bad. And poor Rusev gets thrown to the wolves again. And because I guess Cena didn't beat him soundly enough in this match, we got to do an I Quit match at the next pay-per-view Payback. Why? I don't know. People have already been throwing ideas that they can do to get Rusev to win that match, like have him hold a U.S. Marine hostage or something. These are some of the ideas that I'm reading on the net. Like have him hold a Marine hostage and force Cena to say I quit and all sorts of weird crap like that. Which, I would be in favor of Dracula hypnotizing John Cena and getting him to say I quit, as long as it means that this feud can be over and Rusev can actually be somewhat salvaged, because I don't see any reason to feed Rusev to Cena 3 times in a row. I really don't. I don't see any reason at all. I said it from the beginning. I don't think Rusev should have lost at WrestleMania. Because he was unbeaten, and if he beats Cena, it puts him up on the next level and gives you a future top heel. But what do I know? And I'm not looking forward to match number 4 in their series. That's another thing with Cena, where this is how boring he's getting now. I can even tell when he's going to lose, because back in February when they did that Elimination Chamber, they did the match, not an Elimination Chamber, what did they call that? I don't even remember what the pay-per-view was called. The February pay-per-view, whatever. When they did that match, I knew Cena was going to lose. Because it's like, yeah, because they got to set him up to beat him at Mania. And sure enough, I was right. And, it's really weird how that's gotten where it's like Cena is so boring and so predictable, I even can tell when he's going to lose. Like when he had that match with John Laurinaitis way back. And I was like, John Laurinaitis is going to win. I can already tell you that right now. And sure enough, he did. So that's how boring Cena has gotten. He's even made me bored in matches where I know he's going to lose. Which you would think would make me happy. But no, he's fucking boring. But anyway, after that, I think we got the Divas match, Nikki Bella versus Naomi, which made no sense. The story for this match made no sense because they were both heels. I guess the Bellas are supposed to be face now, why, I don't know. But they cheated to win and whatever, and it's like... Who the fuck is the heel? In my mind, Naomi is completely justified in her griping over the outcome of this match. She got royally screwed, but she's supposed to be the heel, so okay, whatever. So the match didn't really make any sense, and because of that, it didn't really click. And if I had to listen to Brie Bella yell, "Come on, Nikki," one more fucking time, my head might explode. Of course, John Cena's sitting there in the back, was like, "Come on, Brie, I'm gonna come on Nikki later after the show. Come on." It's like, don't rush me. She's got to get through a match first before I can come on her. Come on. Anyway, yeah, so that match happened. And then we got Roman Reigns versus Big Show in the last man standing match. The last 3 minutes or so were good because they hit all these crazy spots like spearing Big Show through the wall and the table spots that they did and everything. And that last like 3 to 5 minutes or whatever were good in terms of just being crazy, but man, was it a long... That was a long walk for a short glass of water. I mean, the first like 2/3 of this match were so boring and so just dry and just didn't work for me. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that Big Show is just not believable as a monster anymore because he loses all the time. So, I mean, you want to kill a monster, have him lose all the time. So, that's one of the reasons, like, a lot of Big Show's matches just don't work for me. Roman won, to the surprise of no one, and, it was what it was. It wasn't the worst thing ever, but, like I said, it finished strong, but getting there was kind of a bumpy road. And then the next match, our main event, the cage match, was kind of the opposite, where the match itself was going really well, and I thought it was a really good match, and Seth and Orton, having a pretty solid cage match. I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this. This is fine. Good main event. And then the shenanigans took over, and J&J Security ran in, and then Kane ran in, chokeslammed everybody, and blah, 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 and it turned into a 3-ring circus. And to me, that completely devalues the cage match, because as I've said, the original point of a cage match was to prevent outside interference and to keep the combatants trapped inside the cage. And so often the WWE fucks with that and ruins it and really devalues what it means to have a cage match, which is why nobody really gives a shit whenever there's a cage match anymore. I thought Seth using the RKO as the finish was actually good. I actually really like that because it gave the fans something to complain about. It's like, no, wait a minute, I thought the RKO was banned, and then it creates like a debate almost, and so it's like Seth cheated but not really, but nobody really knows if it's cheating, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that he was able to sneak away with one other than that, but just all the fact that Kane was the main focus of the whole thing, I think kind of took away from the match and really kind of sucked the life out of it for me. So, yeah, because I really don't care where Kane's loyalties lie at this point. I mean, are we really building to Kane versus Seth for the title? I don't care about Kane. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that never wins. I mean, Jesus, he's practically a jobber at this point. I honestly, off the top of my head, can't tell you the last time I saw Kane win a match. I might have to go back to the Team Hell No days, and that's over 2 years ago. So, that's that's how that is. So, Extreme Rules, not the worst show ever, but it wasn't that great. It was just kind of flat. The first hour, like I said, the first hour was enjoyable, and I did enjoy the pre-show match and everything, but I mean, it wasn't exactly a show to write home about, I didn't think. But in any case, Raw the next night kind of followed that same pattern where it's like, not completely awful. They did a couple of good things. Like, I like Sandow's character development and that whole promo he did stating that he's his own man, and that was all very human. And then he got into the childish bit with Curtis Axel, and that wasn't funny at all and just kind of sad. But I'm trying to think of some of the other stuff they did. A Ryback Bray Wyatt feud coming the fuck out of nowhere, which I'm just going to say it right now. They have ruined Bray Wyatt. I didn't want to just come out and say that, but I'm just going to admit it at this point. They have ruined Bray Wyatt. Ever since the Cena feud, he has just been... Because, no heel comes out better working with John Cena, but... he got thrown to the wolves in that feud, and then they took his cult away from it. Well, no, then he did the Jericho feud, which went nowhere. They went 50-50 and didn't really elevate or do anything for anybody. It was just kind of this mindless thing that they did. Then they took his cult away from him. Then they put him in that feud with Dean Ambrose where they had the same match 85 times. Then they put him in that feud with Undertaker where all he did was just get fed to Undertaker. And now he just cuts the same promo over and over and over again, and they just throw him into random feuds. And, it's not Bray's fault. It's not the performer's fault. It all comes down to the writing and presentation and the booking. And right now he's just a guy that they throw into feuds and have him cut the same promo over and over again. And it's really a shame that they couldn't capitalize on what they had there with Bray. And I'll say it again, they never should have taken the Wyatts away from him. That was stupid. What's Eric Rowan doing these days? What's Luke Harper doing these days? Losing to everybody. A big, giant, tall guy that loses all the time. Okay. Squash matches are valuable. I'm just saying. I mean, they're helping Ryback. Fuck, Ryback is one of the most over guys on the show, and he does nothing but wrestle squash matches. Yeah, whatever. Fuck, man. I mean, this isn't rocket science here. Am I crazy? No, I don't think I am. But, Raw didn't really do it for me. The King of the Ring tournament, and I do want to talk about this, because they did the opening round matches on Raw this week, and then they did the semifinals and the finals on a 1 hour special on the network tonight, which I just got done watching. I really wish they had promoted the King of the Ring tournament. This really just feels like something that they came up with on the fly. Like, let's bring the King of the Ring back, which is so weird because they, ever since 2002, that was the one that Lesnar won. And then they did away with the King of the Ring tournament. And then they'll just randomly bring it back every so often. I think they did one in 2006. That was the one that Booker won. Then they did the one in 2008 that Regal won. Then they did the one in 2010 that Sheamus won. So I guess it was on an every other year pattern. And then I think they did away with it. It was really weird how they just kind of randomly bring the King of the Ring back every so often. It's really, really strange. But, I wish they had, taken time to promote it and advertise it and really make it feel like it's this big special thing that's going to be on the network. Because I didn't even hear about it until I saw Extreme Rules, and they did the This Week on the Network advertisement that they did, and I was like, what the fuck? What's the King? What, they're doing a King? Wait, is that a new tournament, or is it an old show? What are they? Is it a best of show? Like, what are they doing? It's just King of the Ring on Tuesday. What is that? What the hell? Of course, Jerry Springer has his own show on the network now, which Jerry, I mean, you want to talk about a relic from the 90s. I mean, Jerry fucking Springer. I mean, Jesus Christ. I was in middle school when that show first became a thing, and I hated it back then because to me it was just the ultimate lowest common denominator bullshit that ever hit telly. Yes, at 14 years old, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, this is literally America has gotten stupid that this is a hit show now. This is what we'll accept as entertainment at this point. And the fact that show is even still going is just insulting to me. But anyway, that's my whole rant on Jerry Springer. But he's got a show on the network, which I'm not going to watch, but whatever. Jericho's doing the podcast with Stephanie, which I'm sure that's going to be, just very pandering type of interview. I never saw the one he did with Cena, but I heard he kind of softballed Cena. It was a very controlled, very corporate type of interview. And I expect Stephanie's interview with Jericho to be more the same. But in any case, You know, aside from playing that commercial like 18 times, they didn't really do much to advertise the King of the Ring tournament. I was like, what? I mean, even on the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, they never mentioned that they were doing the King of the Ring tournament. It was just kind of like, on Tuesday, this thing's happening, and they didn't really do anything to set it up or build it or announce it or much of anything. You know, I was just kind of like confused, like, what are they doing? And then you get to Raw the next night, and they do the opening round matches, and then they do the special that was on tonight, and I was just kind of like, you know, you probably could have built this up for a couple weeks and made it into something like worth checking into. Instead, it just kind of felt like a throwaway, and it was just something that they, you know, they just did it because they wanted to do it, because they needed, you know, time to fill. They wanted to up some buys for the network and generate some interest, but you know, you could have built it up for a couple weeks and tried to make it mean something. There were a couple good matches in the tournament. Like I said, Neville, I mean, did fairly well throughout the entire tournament, having some of the better matches. I thought Ambrose and Sheamus had a good match. I thought Harper Neville was probably the best match in the entire tournament. But so yeah, it was just a good. You know, there were some good matches in there. It just didn't feel all that important because they didn't really take the time to promote it. So it just kind of felt like a, you know, for lack of a better thing, it kind of felt like one of the TNA One Night Only pay-per-views where it was just something that they did. And it's just like, oh, hey, we're doing this thing out of nowhere, and it doesn't really mean anything, but here we go. I would hope that Wade Barrett has, and by the way, Wade Barrett won the tournament. I would hope that they have some kind of a push plan for him going forward. I would hope. The thing that worries me, though, is I remember what happened when Sheamus won the King of the Ring. And really all that win meant was that it was an excuse for him to wear a goofy costume. And, I mean, really, I made the jokes at the time. He was Tim the Enchanter. That's what he looked like. And I hope that they have more for Barrett than just parading him out there in a crown and a robe. And again, that's what I hope, and I hope they get him up to, you know, get him back up to that, like, IC title level, you know, maybe even move him up further than that if you can make this win really mean something. Of course, I was talking to somebody, and he made this crack. Wade Barrett won more matches between Raw and the King of the Ring special. Wade Barrett won more matches in that 24-hour stretch than he did in his entire run as IC champion, which that is probably true because as IC champion, I have a hard time remembering any matches that he won because he like I said, he lost all those non-title matches, which that's a great way to set up your champion for a big title match, isn't it? But yeah, the King of the Ring, I mean, it could have been something really cool and really fun. Instead, it just kind of felt like a throwaway thing that they did, and they didn't really, because they didn't take the time to really build it up or promote it. It didn't come off as being anything that special. That said, I thought Neville looked really good throughout the tournament. So, yeah, they're doing a good job with him so far. They're just letting him go out there and have really good matches and really surprise people with the things that he can do. So, I think he's on a pretty good path right now. So, hopefully they don't fuck him up. That's all I'll say at this point. But, yeah, that's all the WWE material I have. Tomorrow night I'm going to be watching NXT and Lucha Underground, of course, and I'm sure both shows will be great, as usual. And then Thursday night I'm going to go see Age of Ultron, opening night, Avengers 2. So hopefully that goes really well, and I really enjoy that movie. I might have a little mini movie review sometime this weekend when I do my next video. But in addition to that, my next video will also be my top 10 favorite matches from the month of April and the brand of the month, which I think I already said is going to be Lucha Underground, because there's really nothing. It's going to be Lucha Underground for April, just so there are no surprises there. But yeah, there's still a couple more days to go, so I could probably get a couple more matches out of there between Lucha Underground and NXT. Maybe might even have a good match on there. And actually, I'm going to try and catch the New Japan show that has Ishii and Makabe for the Never Openweight title, because obviously that was a big match that I've wanted to see ever since they had their match back at Wrestle Kingdom 9. So that's a rematch I'm looking forward to, so I'm definitely going to go out of my way to check that out. And hopefully that delivers, and I can put that on my top 10 list. And yeah, I think the show's tomorrow night, actually, so I might be able to check it out tomorrow. So we shall see. But, yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to, and I should have a loaded video next time I see you. But until then, that is all I have for now. Extreme Rules, it was one of those shows. That's the best way to sum it up. King of the Ring, kind of forgettable, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, that is all I have for you now. Y'all enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you all again this weekend.